Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway, where teachers can save 5% every day. Download the Safeway app and verify your teacher status for exclusive offers and discounts. Get started at Safeway.com or in the Safeway app.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.
It's tax day, so for those of you who like to cut it close, you have until midnight tonight to get those in or file for an extension. And speaking of things running on time, sorry if yesterday's episode didn't hit your feed when it should have. There was a technical issue, but it's been fixed. So I'm glad to be here with you on time. I'm Arlo Pérez Esquivel. Coming up, proposed funding cuts could cost more than 11,000 Colorado kids access to early education.
It's unclear whether Republicans now would stand up to support Head Start this time around.
Plus, author talks, library events, and museum exhibitions that have lost their funding now.
We're looking at facing imminent closure in the next couple months.
Then, a sheriff's deputy gets an unusual sentence for shooting and killing someone.
Our community, people as a whole, also were dramatically impacted by Mr. Buellen's actions.
And a new college president aims to shape the path for Indigenous students. It's Tuesday, April 15th. Here's the news in Colorado today. More than 11,000 Colorado kids rely on Head Start, a national program to support childcare and preschool education for low-income families. President Trump now says he wants to end its funding. CPR's Jenny Brundin digs into how it could affect millions of kids nationwide. Jenny, can you tell us what Head Start does?
Yeah, Head Start was founded in 1965 as part of the Johnson administration's War on Poverty. It aims to get low-income children from birth to 5 years old ready for school. So children who could be homeless, in foster care, or who have disabilities, they also automatically qualify for the program. It helps parents find jobs and educational opportunities. Trump's budget proposal would also end meals, developmental screenings, and healthcare for children across the country.
Now, these cuts are part of a White House budget draft for the year 2026. Do we know how Colorado kids will be affected if it does go into effect?
If Head Start were eliminated, the more than 11,000 children you mentioned would not have access to early education and family support. 1 in 5 Head Start programs are in rural counties in Colorado, and altogether the centers employ about 5,000 people.
5,000 people, that's a lot. A lot of the Trump administration cuts are done in the name of cost savings. What does the research show about whether Head Start is cost-effective or not?
Yeah, for every $1 invested in Head Start, taxpayers see up to $9 in return.
Wow.
Yeah, here's Heather Friends, who's executive director of the Colorado Head Start Association.
Children in a Head Start are more likely to graduate high school. They're less likely to repeat a grade and less likely to enter the criminal justice system. And we have 60 years of evidence to that.
And now, if these cuts do go into effect, how else could they affect Colorado families?
Well, Friends' biggest concern is the impact of a sudden loss in funding on children. Many children in Head Start have a higher rate of what's called adverse childhood experiences. Those are things like experiencing or witnessing violence or abuse or other forms of trauma or loss.
They really deeply connect with caregivers like Head Start providers. And so to lose that or to change that could be very detrimental to them, knowing that they already are vulnerable to change.
Jenny, as you know, the budget draft proposal that we're discussing was obtained by USA Today. And we should mention that it's the first volley in a very long process. Ultimately, Congress decides on funding, right?
That's exactly right. Historically, Head Start has had strong bipartisan support. It's unclear whether Republicans now would stand up to support Head Start this time around. During the congressional break right now, Colorado's Head Start Association will lobby the state's delegation to fully fund Head Start.
Jenny, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Federal funding cuts are already hitting a bunch of cultural programs, like a traveling museum exhibition in rural Colorado.
I feel like a world without humanities is like extremely dangerous. And so I'm just thinking about like long-term effects and how we need to really get out in front of this.
Linnea Butler is the conversations coordinator at Colorado Humanities. It funds several dozen organizations with the money it passes on from the National Endowment for the Humanities, or NEH. Sarah Olivier is the associate director at Colorado Humanities.
We receive about 80% of our operating budget from NEH. So we're looking at facing imminent closure in the next couple months due to the loss of our NEH funding.
Across the U.S., this is happening to museums, libraries, researchers, and other organizations. Earlier this month, NEH sent a notice of grant termination to the head of Colorado Humanities and other humanities councils around the country.
We're all watching the news and we're seeing DOJ go through and dismantle so many different federal agencies. And once we knew that DOJ was looking at NEH, we were all bracing ourselves. I wouldn't say that we were shocked, but definitely it's extremely upsetting.
Olivier's institution had an annual budget of $1.2 million. The cuts will affect things like the Black History Live state tour and the exhibit Museum on Main Street.
I feel angry. I feel sad. I'm grieving the loss of it, not just for us and our staff, but for people in Colorado and people all across our country who are going to lose a lot of really crucial educational and cultural resources.
She says there is no way Colorado Humanities can replace all federal grants it receives. Efforts they've made at online fundraising are in the 4 digits as of last week. But Olivier says some Colorado Humanities programs have already been funded, and those will proceed.
That would include like the Colorado Book Awards ceremony, which recognizes authors all throughout our state. And that is July 26th at the L.E. Cosmos Opera House Studio Loft. Then we also have an author talk at the Denver Botanic Gardens for Dia de los Niños y Libros, featuring author Anna Crespo. It's a children's event, so it celebrates the joy of reading and early childhood literature.
This could be their last year.
After July, if we don't replace the NEH funding, these programs will not continue to happen.
CPR's Elaine Tassi reported on this story. See our show notes for more information. A sheriff's deputy convicted of criminally negligent homicide got the maximum sentence yesterday, 3 years in jail. Andrew Buin shot and killed Christian Glass in 2022. Glass got his car stuck on the side of the road and called 911 for help. Buin helped escalate the situation and shot Glass through the windshield of his car. Judge Catherine Shirotas set the sentence.
In my mind, this is about the homicide. Mr. Buin killed Christian Glass, and that deserves punishment.
Buin also lost his law enforcement certification, so he can't work as an officer again in Colorado. CPR's Tony Gorman was at the sentencing. He's here with me now.
Hi, Arlo.
Tony, Glass's dad said something remarkable yesterday about how this all started 3 years ago this June. Let's hear him.
Our agony in June, almost 3 years ago, was compounded by the misleading information provided in Under Sheriff Bruce Snelling's press release designed to cover up the truth. A county official told me that Christian had committed suicide by cop and attacked officers with knives, forcing them to defend themselves. This was a cruel lie. Christian was a gentle, kind and polite boy. He never hurt anyone in his life. And without the body cam footage, I believe the truth would have remained hidden.
Really powerful words.
Yeah, the Glass family has been through so much. The death of their son and 2 trials for Buin, along with countless other hearings and procedural steps to try to hold the other people on scene that night accountable. Yesterday, they told the judge about the impact it's all had on their lives. Lost sleep, lost jobs, lost sense of joy. They said their grateful Christian's name was cleared and Buen will be in jail.
Tony, can you describe again what happened when Buen shot Glass?
Sure. Glass was 22 years old. He was driving through Clear Creek County in the mountains, and he got stuck. Glass was going through some sort of mental health crisis when the officers got there, and he had equipment in the car like a knife and a hammer that he used for geology. He was up front with the officers and told them that he had those tools. They asked him to get out of the car, and he didn't. He stayed inside. The confrontation lasted over an hour before Buen shot him.
And they found him guilty for that, and he was sentenced for 3 years. That doesn't seem like a lot.
Well, that's the max under the law, but his supporters were hoping he received a lesser sentence. Here's Buen speaking on his behalf.
From the bottom of my heart, I'm so sorry, and I apologize for your loss and for my actions that led to your loss. There's a million things I should have done better that night. And when I look back at it every day, I wish that I did.
Glass's family said that it was the first time they had seen him show remorse.
We also heard from Judge Shirotas. She said that the community as a whole is affected by this shooting.
There was one letter from a member of the community who summed things up really well for me, which is that the law applies to everyone and that the lives of those in crisis matter.
Yeah, and by this point, the judge had heard testimony from Buen and his family about how he is helpful and brave. And the judge said, I believe it, but as soon as you put a uniform on him and give him a gun, it changes everything. That was a remarkable comment to hear.
Absolutely. Tony, thank you so much.
Thank you, Arlo.
Fort Lewis College in Durango just confirmed its first Indigenous president. More than a third of students there identify as Native American. That's compared to less than 1% at other colleges and universities in Colorado. And an even greater share at Fort Lewis, more than 40%, are first-generation college students. Heather Schotten may be uniquely prepared for this job as president.
My mother, she never got to realize her desire or dream to go to college, always instilled in me a value of education. And so going to college was expected. What was challenging was I didn't always have the tools to understand how to navigate college.
Schotten is a citizen of the Wichita and affiliated tribes and a Kiowa and Cheyenne descendant. She was one of the only Indigenous kids in her small Texas town. Then she got her undergraduate degree in Native American Studies from the University of Oklahoma.
Oh, it was life-changing for me to be able to have Indigenous professors. That changed so much for me and allowed me to see different possibilities for myself, to see myself reflected at the front of the classroom and the person who was teaching. And that was a new experience for me.
It's also notable because Schotten is a descendant of Indian boarding schools, where white settlers tried to assimilate Indigenous people and strip them of their cultures. Fort Lewis itself was the site of one of these schools. She said that learning about things like the history of Indigenous education and tribal sovereignty gave her a clear vision of how she wanted her career to go.
To learn about content that was relevant to me and relevant to what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to give back to my community.
Now Schotten is in a position to shape the future careers of nearly 4,000 students.
A couple of years ago, we weren't talking about AI, and it has developed and evolved so rapidly that we're having to think about how we're preparing our students to respond to the needs that will be created in the technology industry, specifically on rural and Indigenous health, and how we are able to continue to meet the needs of this region and our community and changing workforce.
Schotten has helped lead diversity efforts at Fort Lewis College since 2022 and plans to stay the course, despite the Trump administration's actions to cut DEI in higher education. Fort Lewis relies on federal grants to help Indigenous and low-income students. Just last month, 3 tribal nations sued the federal government for cutting education staff in underserved Indigenous communities.
Funding is something everyone will be concerned about in the coming years, and how you pay for college has been on top of mind for many of our students. And, we continue to work to advocate for that funding. We continue to also work to provide support and resources that help them to succeed.
You can hear the rest of the conversation with Heather Schotten on the Colorado Matters podcast. Find the link in our show notes. Thank you for spending time with me today. And time to break out some t-shirts again. We are forecast to get back up to the 70s with sunny skies. Remember to follow Colorado Today in your podcast app. I'm Arlo Perez Esquivel. This is CPR News.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway, where teachers can save 5% every day. Download the Safeway app and verify your teacher status for exclusive offers and discounts. Get started at Safeway.com or in the Safeway app.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org.